Welcome to Agency Bytes, a podcast for agency owners, hosted by agency veteran and coach Steve Guberman. Agency Bytes is a podcast focused on delivering actionable agency information from agency experts in about 25 minutes. Why 25 minutes? Because who has the attention span for much more these days? And you can squeeze in a listen between meetings with time for a bathroom break or coffee refill before your next meeting.
Welcome to Agency Bytes, a podcast dedicated to helping creative entrepreneurs thrive. I'm Steve Guberman from Agency Outsight, where I coach agency owners to build the business of their dreams. Today, I'm thrilled to be joined by DuBois. He helps marketing agencies build a solid go-to-market foundation while avoiding common roadblocks by aligning business design with personal goals through the dynamic Agency OS. He's a former head of operations and a non-founder CEO at an agency. And he is an Inc. 5000 honoree and 2 Comma Club awardee. Chris, thanks for joining me today.
Steve, thanks for having me.
Yeah. Tell me, what the heck is a 2 Comma Club honoree?
Yeah, that was the ClickFunnels has that award for any company that can draw or drive $1 million in revenue through a single funnel.
Interesting. Okay.
Get it. It's not, I should probably remove it from there because there's a lot of people who use it as there's a lot of people who just want the award to use in their marketing. And so they'll spend 1.1 million in ads in order to drive $1 million in revenue through one funnel. Then they get the award and they cost them $100K right at the end of the day, but they have that award that they can use for marketing other things. And so the award itself is you can buy your way into it.
All right. But you didn't, and that's all that matters.
Yeah.
All right. It's legit for you.
Right.
So we'll count it. So I appreciate you joining me. I'm curious to kind of talk through your trajectory about where, how you got to where you are now and your agency experience and kind of how that's like powering you as a force multiplier for other agencies. So maybe take us through that quick story if you want to.
Sure. So after college, I took my English degree and threw it out and basically joined the Army as an infantry officer. And although I wrote a lot of awards for my soldiers, and they were never kicked back to me for grammatical issues. So better than some of the other infantry guys. But I did that for a while. And then when getting out, I looked for different jobs, started working at an agency and started as just general marketer, running some accounts. And about 9 months later, became the head of operations. And then a couple of years later, became CEO of that agency. Spent some time kind of learning the ropes, doing the things. We are a HubSpot partner, mainly doing websites and then a lot of growth marketing kind of on the back end for ongoing services. And late last year, I kind of decided I wanted to go off, do my own thing, start helping other agencies. And now we're talking here.
Sweet. How big was the shop that you got to be CEO from?
So we were about 3 million revenue and our team size kind of fluctuated as we tried different things, but we were over 20 team members for most of the time. Yeah.
Did you have like insight into the previous CEO or I guess the founder's mindset on what their shift was, why they wanted to put you in place? Like what was that backstory there for them?
Yeah. So we had worked together for, the entire time, right? Like he took a chance on me, hiring me with no marketing background and, kind of quickly grew. And the idea, I'm sure a lot of people listening have heard through EOS, right? You have the visionary and the integrator. We kind of reframe those as the revenue generator and profit optimizer. And when I was the head of operations, that was already my role, profit optimization, right? He was going off doing the sales, doing everything else. I was just focused on how do I keep more money in the business. And so when I took over as CEO, we just kind of maintained those roles. And so he stayed on as the head of growth and kind of stepped aside to start growing some of the other brands that we had been talking about and like really got excited about building. So he was able to focus on those and still do the revenue side while I was just focused more internally. How do I make sure this business is actually, a good business, keeping the money?
But it's interesting that you got put in as CEO because a lot of times, that visionary is going to maintain that CEO role, put somebody in as a number 2 ops, and that number 2 is still do the work that you did as, rev gen or, profit optimizer or whatever you want to call it. Did they step back on any level or they stayed full in 20, 100%?
Yeah, for a lot of things, he stepped back. It was something we probably should have aligned more on, like initially, just to really flesh out like what are the expectations for this role, because it wasn't as simple as, well, you're moving from head of operations to CEO. Let's just change your title. Right. It was like, no, there are some more responsibilities coming in. So how do we shape this so that everybody's on the same page? Struggled with that for a bit. We ironed everything out. We're good to go. But yeah, it was, I think he kept a lot of the stuff he was really good at. And then the goal was just for me to free him up, whether through hiring or acquiring the skills, to be able to free him up from some of those other tasks that I'm probably better suited for anyways.
And that's the key that I'm trying to get at, because so many owners, founders, CEOs, whatever you want to call it, they're juggling way too many things. They're wearing too many hats, half the crap they shouldn't be doing or they're not good at. And they have the inability to delegate, relinquish control, trust their team. And so your previous CEO was like, this is the thing I'm good at. This is what I want to do. I'm going to delegate everything else. I'm going to put Chris in charge because he's going to handle all the shit I don't want to handle. And that's the power move right there for an owner, to be able to get things off their plate, delegate it out, and focus on whether it's account growth, biz dev, going fishing, whatever they want to be doing. And so now you're able to help other owners figure that move out for themselves.
Yeah. Hopefully more smoothly too.
Yeah. So talk about, the dynamic agency, OS and what you're doing now.
Yeah. So with that, I was thinking through like what is the path that every agency should just generally go through, separate from working with me or anyone. It's just like, what is the path? And I kind of realized you need to start with looking at the operators, then your offers, then the operations. I needed the alliteration. That's why it's all O's. But
big fan of alliteration. I have the 6 P's. You've got the 3 O's. Come on, let's keep it going.
But I found there are a lot of agencies that they'll start with their operations, right? Where it's like they want to make sure all their processes are straight. They have all this mapped out. It's like, but they've never actually gone through and gotten a great result, like something they really want replicated. And so really, what are we doing with processes? It's just creating more mediocrity, right, with those. And so we start getting frustrated with like, well, things used to be easier. They felt easier. Like, why is it getting so hard now? Why aren't we able to get these results? It's really because you haven't gotten those results to build a process around. So that's the final stage. Then we come back to the offers. Let's actually be deliberate about the offer that we're making here. Like, I see something that I've called service saturation, where it's like you type in SEO agency and you're going to go find 1,000 SEO agencies right now, right? So now you've just invited comparison by saying, hey, I do SEO, I do ads, whatever it is. You're just telling people, go search for that term, rather than saying, I solve this problem, right? I have the solution for this. And so if you can create an offer based around that, it's differentiated, it's something people need solved, right? You're only helping yourself. But then you go to the initial tier. It's like, let's just look at your team. Do they actually have the skills to deliver on this offer? Because very frequently you'll see someone say, yeah, we can do this, right? We can do SEO, especially if they have like a whale client. They usually got them early. Client keeps growing their account with them, and they keep saying, oh, we need someone to do ads. Like, do you guys know how to do ads? And you're like, yeah, we can do ads. And you like run back and you get on Google, figure out how to do ads. But like, whenever like you need your team to actually be an expert in whatever it is you're doing. Otherwise, you're just throwing your reputation on the line, because as soon as they get a bad result, they're going to say, well, they said they could do ads and they weren't able to. It's like, nobody knows that was the first time you were trying to do it, right? Yeah. So I find if we can start with our team, we align on our roles, we make sure we have all of our growth trajectory planned out, then we get into the offers, and then we focus in operations. We're able to actually build an agency that can start very rapidly growing and can scale. And that's kind of like separate from any coach you're working with, from anything else. It's like, this is kind of the path to making it happen.
So so a couple of questions to just kind of pick it apart, and not in any opposition, because I think it makes perfect sense. I'm just trying to align,
Sure.
where the components fit in. So oftentimes I think you're right in that client has a problem. We can find a solution. We'll figure it out. Like, we're going to go back to the shop. All right, guys, they want us to do whatever, PPC. We've never done it. Let's figure it out. Somebody's going to jump into ChatGPT and they're going to get a solution, and they're going to put the junior person in charge of it, or whatever. The most tech savvy person is going to do it. where do you put in, the account management side of things, the pricing side of things in this, the three O's?
Yes, it's all within the offer building.
Okay.
Part of like offer design is, what are we going to charge for this? What are we actually delivering with this? How do we deliver this? I just got off call working with a client who we're designing their solution, because for a while they had 5 or 6 different things that they were doing within the agency. It's like, hey guys, do you consider yourself an expert at this? They said no. It's like, so do you want to keep doing it? They're like, no, we understand now. Like, we got it.
Yep.
So we found outsourced partners that we can go to, other agencies that we can now share leads and actually do strategic partnerships with. But it's like, as we're creating that offer, it's like, all right, who's the enemy here? Like, what's the name of the problem? What's the name of the enemy? And then we can name our solution, and we can kind of create this narrative where someone should be able to see their entire business within it. So now when we do get to like the pricing piece of this, it's like we've shown enough value, and we've shown that we know this problem so well that we are probably the only solution in someone's head. It's much easier to command a higher rate because you're seen as the expert, right? You're not just, we'll give you 4 blog posts a month for $1,000. It's like, no, we're the strategic experts. We're going to show you exactly what you need and get you those results. And I know can't guarantee within marketing really. Yeah. But we can get you pretty close. And so.
Are you a fan of niching, either service-based or verticals?
Yes. Okay. I like to niche based on the problem you solve. And so rather than looking at like, what vertical are we working in? What are we doing for anything else? It's like, we are very good at solving this one problem. And then you can take that problem, can now go cross industries if you wanted to, but I would specialize in one industry at the start, because the industry becomes the lens through which you view that problem. Yeah. Right. So I could solve something for HR, but how an HR representative talks about this problem is going to look different between a manufacturing company and a tech company. And so by picking that industry and then like really leaning into that one means we get the language that we can use around this problem to make sure we're actually targeting the right people.
Yeah. So, all right. So jumping back 2 steps, client comes to me and says, can you do a thing? And we're like, we'll go figure it out. How do you, like, what's your thoughts there as far as stay in your lane, stick to the things that you can deliver profitably and quickly, and you're really good at, and you're experts, maybe in a vertical or not, but now they want us to do a thing we've never done before. What are your thoughts there?
So I guess there's a lot of like nuance to it, but I would go back to like, start picking it apart, right? Why do you think SEO is your issue? Because more than likely your client's not the expert in all things marketing, although they believe they are. Most of them are convinced that they get.
They read a blog post or their kid said a buzzword, and they're like, "Oh, let's go to the agency and have them." Yeah, so it's not expert input on what to do next, but it's something that has to be listened to from the agency.
Yes. And so what I would do is say, okay, well, why do you believe this is the issue? And we kind of get down to like the root cause, because usually you can find like, well, if you're saying the issue or why you need ads is because you need more traffic. Well, does it make more sense to spend money on those ads, right? And hopefully make that happen, or to continue doing what we're already doing strategically for your inbound marketing in order to make all of these things like work out. So that's kind of one approach. I would just really get down to the point of it. But something else that I recommend all of my clients do is quarterly strategies. And so, come like right now, December, right? We're recording this December. So first week of December, I'm going to be going to my clients and saying, like, what things are you planning to do in Q1 of next year that you would like help with? Right? Like, let's just start talking about some of your goals, your initiatives for next year. Let's see how we can fit into that puzzle. So now you're starting to put yourself in this strategy conversation. Following those questions, you're now going back and working out your strategy. Like, what are we going to do for that quarter? Map it all out. Last week of the month, before the quarter starts, you can present this strategy and say, hey, Q1, here's everything we want to do. Here are the goals. Here's, the steps, every little piece that we want to knock out. Now, when they say yes to that and you get their buy-in, you have now, it's almost like a new commitment right, to actually executing on just that one quarterly strategy.
Yeah.
So when they bring up something mid-quarter and say, oh, hey, we really want to go try this, you can go back and say, well, actually, we said for 90 days, we are going to do this plan. And if we're being honest, 90 days isn't even that long for just marketing work to actually see what's happening. But usually most startup founders and everything super impatient. And so this is a good way to sell them that patience, I guess.
Yeah. And keep them on track for this
right.
is, redirect them to the brief or, the strategy and say, this is what we committed to. But their idea mid quarter feeds to the next quarter. So you've always got that rolling ammunition of, we're going to give you ideas that you fed us the ideas for, because they want to hear their own ideas back to them.
Right. And figuring out, and that's where, right, when you can go back and figure out, well, why do you think this is what we need to do? And you can get back to those goals, right? It's essentially objection handling.
Yeah.
They're saying that they see a potential problem, and you're saying, okay, well, let me get to the root cause of that so that I can figure out how to handle this for you. And so when you can bring those up and say, okay, well, you guys had this goal, this was something you were interested in doing, here's how we've created the plan, right, in order to get after that.
Yeah. Dig it. Okay. I'm a big fan of that as well. I think that being brought in as an advisory role as opposed to just kind of a pixel pusher or, campaign pusher or whatever, you get to charge more, you get to be seen more as the expert. And so agencies that can work themselves into that light make, everybody benefits there. So from a team standpoint on this execution of, the 3 O's, what are some of the kind of leadership things that they're looking out for and how to optimize that?
Yeah, it's a loaded question.
Dissect it. Let's break it down then a little bit. So
my passion when I was in the Army was, look, I was fortunate enough to do really well as a platoon leader, and I had really good sergeants that I was working with, really good platoon sergeant, coaching me and everything. But so I did really well. And then I moved from there. The battalion commander said, you know what, I want to keep developing you. I really think you have some potential. So he pulled me up to essentially be his assistant. To me, that felt like punishment, right? Because I went from being with my guys, we're in the infantry, you're running around, you're shooting things, you're blowing stuff up, it's fun, to go into managing his calendar and that type of stuff. But what it did show me was a different perspective on the organization. So I went from being down at the lowest level, having to manage everything, to now seeing all of these different people moving. And I realized the individuals who were the most successful could go into any organization and just be flexible. They didn't step in and say, this is how I lead, this is how we're going to do it. They were able to step in and say, what do you need from me right now in order to create this environment that we need in order to win? And so part of my coaching with agencies on the leadership side is let's really figure out, who do you have to be as a leader, and where is that line? Because this is a little different than the military, right? Where you don't really get a choice and you're told where to go. But if you're running a company, it's your company. You get to choose how you get to run this. And the one piece, the one thing that you truly own as a leader is the culture of your organization, because the culture essentially equates to the standard that you're willing to keep. And so when you step in, you choose a standard for yourself, but then you hold everyone else accountable to this. And so with every team member that's coming in, we're asking, is the bar maintained, raised, or lowered with this individual? And the more people you have that lower the bar, you're probably either shift your culture, and it means you're not going to maybe have that standard that you were hoping for, or get rid of those team members, because the people who are raising the bar, or at least at the bar, are feeling a little unappreciated because you're letting these other people hang out. And so it's kind of the initial thing that we're doing when we look at the team is we're doing an actual assessment of, what do you want to be building? Let's design this agency. And that includes the people, right? Especially service-based business.
Yep.
The people are really the product. And I'm using air quotes for anyone just listening to that, so it doesn't sound like we're getting too crazy here. But the people that you bring in are the ones who are actually delivering the work. And so ultimately they are what you are offering. And so making sure you have a high standard for them, and then identifying the skills that they have, the skills that you have as a leader, and starting to map that out. What do we need to be improving on? What do we need to really lean into to make sure that our clients are getting the best results? And Yeah, I don't even know if I answered your question with that. I feel like I
No,
just
I think you did, and I agree wholeheartedly. I also think that leaders need to identify, um, kind of maybe repeating what you're saying, but need to identify the cultural fit, the soft skills that they bring to the table,
Mhm.
and the hard skills are kind of tertiary. Like, sure, if I'm hiring you to do paid ads or creative direction or whatever, you better be able to hit
Mhm.
the ground running. But if you're an asshole, like that trumps it all out. You know what I mean? So if
Mhm.
you can contribute positively to the culture, the way that we're managing clients, the clients that we're going after, the industry experience that you bring, like the energy that you bring onto the team, especially in a remote space, like, maybe not especially because actually in
Mhm.
person. Yeah, I reject that remote. So, but yeah, all of that I think
Mhm.
contributes far more than the idea of like, can you actually, run an ads campaign? We'll train you how to do that. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So I think that's
right.
kind of what you're pointing to.
Yeah, I mean that's some. So there's a quad chart that I. This
Yep.
is a. It's a fun exercise to do with agency owners, and we make sure that no team members ever see this. But it's the skill will matrix, and so you
Hmm.
have those who can and can't across whichever axes you want, and then the other axis has those who will and won't. And
All
if
right.
you have someone who will and can, awesome, they're great. If you have someone who can't and won't, it's like just get rid of them. But what I find is very frequently those who are in the can but won't column,
Hmm.
it's usually just like a misalignment of incentives,
Yeah.
right? Like maybe they're in the wrong role or they're not getting paid enough, and you can figure out what to do for that. But to what you were saying, like what you're saying about the hard skills, it's like, yeah, it is tertiary because if I know what skills you have now and what skills I want you to have, like it's super easy to train anyone, especially today. Like I can
Yeah.
literally go into ChatGPT and say, give me a training plan. Like let me know what books to read, what
Yeah.
courses to take, and you get a full plan. Like that's simple.
Yeah.
The motivation side is hard because it's individualized. Like I'm trying to
Yeah.
figure out all these other things. But a fun framing that I've seen is when you look at hard skills and soft skills, like the real differentiator there is just that with a soft skill, we don't necessarily know how to quantify everything. But if we were to take that soft skill and now break it down into much smaller hard skills, we can start to quantify and we can figure out what is that thread that we need to pull on in order to get you better at something. And so when
Mm.
you look at taking a remote team and it's like that account manager, hey, we really got to work on how you present, strategies, I guess, to the clients. It's like just saying that really hard. But if we
Yep.
say, okay, we need you to smile, step one. All right, just how many times can you smile at them, right? How many times can you confirm that they get it, they're understanding without necessarily using the words like, do you understand? Because you don't want to make them feel like like you don't think they can understand. But it's like you just kind of pinpoint what are those hard skills, and now you could make a checklist and literally like quantify everything they need in order to develop that soft skill, so that we can grow everything. And so,
Yeah.
yeah,
And
just like
that I use that same quadrant exercise, where if you're, 100% green, cool, run with it. If you're in kind of
mhm,
either the two diagonal grayish areas, yellowish areas, whatever you want to call it, the question as leadership is, all right, can we train out of this? Are these things that
right,
we can work with? And if you're hard red, like, got to go, like,
hmm,
fire fast, kill, you're spoiling the soup at that point. So I
yep,
think it's a great exercise. Beautiful insights. I love this. So Dynamic Agency OS, sign up now, get the email list, get on the
yeah,
podcast, everybody. I want to throw a couple random non-agency OS questions at you to
ooh,
wrap things up here.
let's do it.
So the first is, what's something that you are just binging the heck out of these days? It can be a book, a podcast, a show, a hobby, anything that you just
Hmm.
are obsessed with these days.
Uh, man, these days. So I guess the only thing that comes to mind right now, I just when I was doing some like fall work, cleaning up leaves and stuff, I asked a friend for a book recommendation, and he told me to check out the Monster Hunter International series,
Hmm.
just fiction, right? And I was like, yeah, I'll try it out. But I ended up listening to 9 of these books within
Wow.
like a month. There's a lot of yard work, so it wasn't just me sitting around. I was doing stuff, I promise. Uh, but very entertaining series, and so
Very cool. All right.
yeah.
What is a tool that you recently integrated into your life? And tool can be not AI, but digital, physical, personal, professional, that you look back and you think, how the heck did I live without this thing before?
Man, I don't know. I think the one that I continuously forget to use to its full ability is my calendar tool. So it's called Motion,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like an AI powered calendar. And so you feed all of your tasks and everything. And once you have your week set, it'll automatically adjust based off, what parameters you gave it. So you'll tell it, this task is, priority 1. It's going to take this long to do. And then you set your calendar in the back. You have like different schedules. So I can set my mornings for like thinking tasks, afternoons for tactical tasks, and it'll just reorganize my entire week for me. So I never need to sit down at my desk and say, what should I be working on? I just plan it out Sunday night, and then I sit down and just get right to work. And it makes me incredibly productive when I remember to actually build my calendar out on Sundays.
Interesting. Yeah, I've heard really good things about it. I've not heard it explained as well as that. So I'm going to sell that back to them as an ad because I see their ads all the time. And then finally, what is just a super invaluable piece of business advice, agency operations advice that you can share?
Ooh, man. These are like the hard questions. These are we talk the agency stuff. That's easy. I would say, yeah, I'll go with first thing top of mind. Solomon's paradox is real. King Solomon, super wise king. He helped a lot of people, but he could not solve his own problems. Everyone, we've heard the sayings, you can't see the problem or can't see the label from inside the jar, like all of these different things. One of the reasons I created the dynamic agency OS was because I know I will never have all the answers. And so I can meet other agency experts like you. Like I have a whole roster of others that I can just call in and be like, hey, my client's having these issues, or, hey, this prospect came to me. I don't know what to do with them. You have the exact thing. And it's like, we can get them connected with all the right people. And I think when you realize I probably don't know what my problem is, and I need someone else to just come look at it, you can grow your business much faster because you're not limited by those same constraints.
I love that. You referenced the can't see the label from inside the jar. That was the whole mindset behind Agency Outsight, like the name for Outsight.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
So yeah, I'm very familiar with that. I love it. I love that we share so many same viewpoints. I think you got an amazing set of principles and values and experiences to bring to the table. So love seeing what you're doing and appreciate your time today. So thank you for joining me.
Thanks again for tuning in to Agency Bytes. If you know someone with expert knowledge on a topic that agency owners would love to hear about, go to agencyoutsight.com/podcast-guest and nominate them.